Good morning, and welcome to the Ashburton Water Filtration Plant. This is one of 3 filtration plants operated by Baltimore City's Department of Public Works. I am Matthew Garbark, Deputy Director for the Department of Public Works. Today is an exciting day for Baltimore as we further strengthen our very strong partnership with the federal government. I would like to welcome Michael Regan, Administrator of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, to Baltimore City. I would also like to acknowledge our United States Senators, Senator Ben Cardin and Senator Chris Van Hollen. Additionally, we are joined by state and local officials, Secretary of the Maryland Department of the Environment, Ben Grumbles, State Senator Antonio Hayes, Delegate Stephanie Smith, Delegate Regina Boyce, Councilman James Torrance, Councilman Mark Conway, and Representative from Baltimore City Council Vice President Sharon Green Middleton, as well as Delegate Dalia Attar. Finally, I would like to introduce someone who has become a fierce advocate for public works since coming to Baltimore in January, our first ever City Administrator, Christopher Shorter.
Thank you, Matt. And good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Chris Shorter, the City Administrator here in Baltimore. It's a great and beautiful day in Baltimore City. Our Mayor Brandon Scott could not be with us today, but I bring you warm greetings and a big welcome to Baltimore City. We are, of course, honored today to be joined by EPA Administrator Michael Regan. Thank you for being here. I understand that it is your first official visit to Maryland, and we are thrilled that you have chosen Charm City as the first stop. I also want to thank all of the elected officials that Matt has acknowledged for joining us today. And last, but certainly not least, I want to acknowledge and thank our YH2O alumni and participants who have joined us today. We just had a great conversation a few minutes ago. If you would give them a round of applause and give yourselves a round of applause. I don't know if it needs to be said, but this is a very big deal today. We are and have the opportunity to continue to support young people and continue to support DPW in its efforts to make sure that our workforce remains sustainable. YH2O is a public-private job partnership spearheaded by Baltimore City Department of Public Works and its partners, the Mayor's Office of Employment Development. I want to acknowledge Director Jason Perkins Cohen, who has also joined us today. Jason, where are you? There we go. And the Chesapeake Water Environment Association, if you all would raise your hands. Yep, there we go. I want to acknowledge their president, President Laura Joy Oakes. Yep, Laura. And so let's take a moment to acknowledge also all of DPW, all of MOED, or the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, and of course the Chesapeake Bay Water Environment Association. YH2O meets a critical need in the water industry as seasoned workers leave and retire. The program began in 2015, and since that time, 96 young men and women have graduated and completed the program and gone on to jobs in the water industry, either with the Department of Public Works or in private companies. YH2O is successfully building a pipeline for the future of our water industry. And now, with this new funding, we will be able to expand our current YH2O program to include solid waste and other DPW service areas. The additional training for participants will be focused on environmental justice while also strengthening community trust and channels of sharing information. For young people in Baltimore, YH2O means on-the-job training and jobs. It means being productive residents and entering a career in city government. All aspects have been and made Baltimore's program a national model for other cities and public-private utilities. Several have already adopted the program in Texas, Mississippi, North Carolina. Eliminating inequity and environmental injustice remain at the forefront of the city's priorities in order to foster a space for future generations to thrive within. And so on behalf of Mayor Scott, and all the young people of Baltimore who benefit from this program. I want to thank you, Administrator Regan, and the EPA for your continued support here in Baltimore City and for Public Works. So thank you. And without further ado, I want to introduce to some EPA Administrator Michael Regan.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chris, for your leadership. You know, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the loss that's been experienced in Miami with the collapse of the condominium. So our thoughts and prayers are with our sisters and brothers there who are experiencing loss, and thankfulness to the first responders who are looking after our folks down there. You know, I am really thrilled to be here in Baltimore today. I want to thank Senator Cardin, Senator Van Hollen, Secretary Grumbles, Matt, and most of all, the YHU Program alumni and participants for being here today. Being here today together, in person, vaccinated, to support jobs and water infrastructure shows just how far we've all come. And the American Rescue Plan helped get us here. President Biden and Congress recognized that we had an opportunity to emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic stronger than before. They seized that opportunity with the American Rescue Plan, which is getting our health, our communities, and our economy back on track. But it's not just about getting back to where we were. It's about getting to where we need to be as a nation. It's about who America is going to be. It's about ensuring that the country we love lives up to the highest of ideals. To do that, we must be clear-eyed about our values and our priorities, and we must put resources behind them. The American Rescue Plan does exactly that by dedicating $50 million for the EPA to advance environmental justice. This funding will go towards grants, contracts, and other agency activities that will help address the environmental and public health harms that underserved communities have disproportionately borne for decades. Today, I am proud to share how EPA plans to put those funds to work. We know just how important it is to get this money out to communities, and we're excited to let our communities know that we are here to partner and we are here to help. Nearly $16.7 million will more than double EPA's funding to critical, important EJ grants. And today we're sharing a list of 14 new grant recipients for a total of $2.8 million in funding. $7 million will fund electric school buses throughout a tailored use of the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act rebate program with the goal of reaching fleets in underserved communities with multiple air quality and health challenges. More than $5 million will be used to expand civil and criminal enforcement to include monitoring near low-income communities and drinking water sources for pollution. $5 million would help communities tackle the challenge of assessing, cleaning up, and preparing brownfield sites for redevelopment. And more than $4.8 million will fund the Children's Healthy Learning Environments Grant and Pediatric Environmental Health Specialty Units, which helps reduce children's environmental exposure and address children's COVID-19 environmental health risk. And $4.7 million will be used for drinking water and compliance monitoring in hard-to-reach rural and tribal communities. And then there's more. We're thrilled to release the full plan today so that communities can see the scope of activities receiving these precious resources to support on-ground community efforts. I'm proud that one of the first recipients of these funds includes Baltimore's YHU Program, which is receiving a $200,000 grant. Yes. Receiving a $200,000 grant to help advance the great work that's already being done. YH2O's mentorship and training program is helping young people enter careers in water infrastructure. Clean and safe water has and will play a critical role in keeping people healthy throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. Ensuring a strong future water workforce has never, ever been more urgent. Our nation's water infrastructure is aging and in needs of upgrades, repairs, and replacement. President Biden has made it clear that this administration is committed to building a modern, climate-resilient water infrastructure, revitalizing our drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater systems, and replacing lead service lines that still exist in too many overburdened communities. Because we know that improving our water infrastructure is good for people's health, it's good for communities, and guess what? It's also good for jobs. That's why I'm so excited to be here today, to meet with YH2O participants. This program has a track record of success, and it was a pleasure to hear from the participants this morning about their experiences, but more importantly, their hopes for the future and their opportunities to be leaders in this industry. After speaking with these outstanding young people, I'm confident that our investment is a step towards getting us to a powerful water workforce that our future demands and our community deserves. This is just the beginning. Soon we will be announcing additional support for programs that benefit communities all across the country and their efforts to improve air quality, deliver safer drinking water, revitalize brownfields, address priority tribal concerns, and much, much more. So I'm really, really excited to be here. Thank you all for having us today. And now it is my pleasure to meet a young man who has become my new hero, Alexander Sears, a YH2O program graduate. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I just kind of want to start off by saying that I appreciate the grants to the program. I appreciate everybody's support. And I just want to start off by saying the YHU program changed my life. Because growing up in Baltimore City, you see a lot of crime. You see a lot of your friends you grew up with dying because they trying to secure fast money in a crime-like way. But I would never think that I would be able to help my city, and not by being a policeman or a firefighter, but getting us clean water, fixing the water, just because water is so much important. So I feel like the YHU program is a great way to show that young, ambitious black and brown kids in Baltimore City are not gang members or not looking at everything in a crime way, that we can help build our infrastructure back, because Baltimore City was one of the because Baltimore City has a lot of history here. We were one of the first cities to have a water plumbing system. We were one of the first cities to have street lights, a lot of things. So when we go to a job and there's water coming from the street, we have to understand that we're dealing with old pipelines. We're dealing with old galvanized water services. So when we go down there and fix it, it kind of makes you feel good that you're ensuring that everybody has water to wash up with. And like John said earlier, you're making sure that we're able to flush the toilets correctly. So that, and I have to look at something else about the program that we learned too. And the two words that come to mind is unity and perseverance. And the reason why I say unity, because when you get in the classroom and the program teaching you how to talk well, teaching you how to deal with your peers well, because a lot of the times when you're from different neighborhoods, you might frown up and look at another brother or another sister a certain kind of way. But Mr. Green and a lot of other people in the program taught us to come together and build a ladder to be able to climb very high. And then the reason why I use the word perseverance is because a lot of the times you have people coming from certain backgrounds that can't articulate themselves in a manner that they're trying to, because some of the harsh realities that we live. So a lot of the times we have built up emotion that comes out as anger, and the program helped us simmer down, calm down, and express ourselves in a powerful way, because we are powerful people and powerful young kids as well. So, and I just feel like by this program having light shed on it and becoming a bigger program, I feel like it's actually going to lower a lot of the crime rates, because it's giving a lot of kids opportunity to have careers at a young age. And I never looked at credit the way I did before the program. I never looked at owning a house the way I did before the program. And it's like the program just broaden your horizon on a social level and an economic level to understand that there's things more to, you might want to pair tennis shoes or you might want to pair this, but the program teaching you, you want to buy this house. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you might grew up on this block. Now let's actually buy the block back. So it's like, I want to end off with saying that I just love the fact that I was able to come together with peers that look like me, act like me, talk like me, and we're able to show the world that we are powerful human beings and that there's so much more to Baltimore City, that since we're one of the first cities with water, the young kids are going to help ensure that we stay one of the major cities and protecting and fixing our water forever. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. And now it's my pleasure to introduce two leaders of Maryland who have been fierce advocates of Baltimore City and without whom much of this funding would not have been able to come to fruition. So it's my honor to introduce Senators Ben Cardin and Chris Van Hollen.
Alexander, that was quite an impressive comments. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk to my staff as to why they put me on the program right after you. That's not really fair. Administrator Regan, thank you for coming to Baltimore. We really appreciate it very much, and you're welcome back anytime, particularly when you bring us money. We appreciate it very much. This is really a very important moment, and Senator Van Hollen and I are so pleased to join you and our state officials with this announcement. $200,000 for this program. It means that we're going to be able to expand the program beyond the 96 that have already taken advantage of the program. And just as importantly, we're going to be able to reach some young people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds that may not have been able to participate in the program without this budget support. This is a big deal. Baltimore has a great tradition, Mr. Administrator, of having some of the cleanest and best water in the world. That's our history. These young people are going to make sure it's also our future. So that's why this becomes so vitally important. I have the honor of chairing the Infrastructure Subcommittee on the Environment and Public Works Committee, and we fought very hard on the American Rescue Plan. Senator Van Hollen and I, Senator Van Hollen serves on the Appropriations Committee. We fought hard to include these types of funds in the American Rescue Plan. But make no mistake about it, it was President Biden's leadership on building back better that makes this announcement possible. Please express our appreciation to the President for his commitment to our communities and doing this not just to rebuild our communities better, to create good jobs, but as you pointed out, to include environmental and social justice in the way that we rebuild our country. That's why we can support these type of programs like the YHU program, because we know it provides opportunity for people who otherwise would be lost in our system. So we're very proud about this announcement, and I can tell you this is just the beginning. President Biden is now working on the American Jobs Plan that will create jobs but also deal with justice. And we had a great announcement this week that will advance that. We know we still have obstacles, but I can tell you under President Biden's leadership, I'm confident that we'll have many other great days like this announcement that we see today. And I must tell you, I couldn't have a stronger partner in bringing this support for President Biden's agenda. Chris Van Hollen not only serves on the Appropriations Committee, but he's one of our great leaders on advancing justice issues in the United States Senate. My friend and colleague, Chris Van Hollen. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ben. And it is wonderful to be here with DPW, and it's especially great to join with all of you as we welcome our terrific EPA Administrator Regan. So thank you so much for being here in Baltimore, number one. Secondly, choosing Baltimore to be the place where you're making the announcements about the other investments that EPA and President Biden and this administration are making around the country today to better protect our environment and to advance social and environmental justice. So thank you for that. And of course, thank you also for announcing the $200,000 grant to further strengthen and expand the YHU program. And we had a chance, as the administrator said, to meet with many of the terrific graduates of this program and to hear firsthand how this has been a life-changing experience and opportunity. Alexander, thank you for your testimony about how it changed your life. And thank all of you who met with us for talking about your experience. And most of all, thank you for what you're doing to deliver clean water to the people of Baltimore. You know, a lot of people just take for granted. They just take for granted when they turn on that faucet that it's going to be clean water coming out the other end. All of you know that's not anything to be taken for granted. This is something you need to have the skills and expertise and experience to know how to do. And this has been a win-win-win program. It's a win for all of the young people who went through the program and who, as a result, have a good, steady job, a career path. It's, of course, a win for the people of Baltimore City to have cleaner water. And it's a win for our future because all of you, as we discussed, are going to be carrying that torch and carrying that message to others in our community about both the opportunities here, but also the importance of protecting our environment, our water, our air, our open spaces. And that, of course, is what our administrator is in charge of doing for the whole country. This is a team effort, and I want to thank the administrator and the president for their leadership in announcing the American Rescue Plan and putting the pieces together. And I was proud to join with my friend and colleague, Senator Ben Cardin, in passing this legislation through the United States Senate. The vote shouldn't have been as close as it had to be, but it was an example of every single vote does count. And we got this over the finish line, and that's why we're here today, because those resources are available. And as Senator Cardin said, we now are going to be working with Administrator Regan, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and our colleagues to take some next steps through the American Jobs Plan to modernize our infrastructure, which is something you're doing right here and now, but we all know you need the resources to really finish the job. And to pass the American Families Plan, which will invest in more opportunities for our workforce on a grand scale, starting with early education, investing in public education, investing more in workforce training and opportunities. So this is a team effort. I want to, again, thank the administrator. I want to thank the mayor, Chris Shorter. Thank you for you and your team, to DPW, to our state legislators who are here, and to the members of the City Council. And it is a team effort. Next, I'm pleased to bring up the Maryland, essentially, the Maryland Secretary of Environment, somebody who I know Administrator Regan knows well, Senator Cardin knows well. Senator Cardin was being very modest. He chairs the subcommittee that oversees a lot of the investments in infrastructure. I serve on the Appropriations Committee, so together we can work on both pieces of this important puzzle. Secretary Grumbles is our point person when it comes to the Maryland Department of Environment. We also work very closely with him and his team, and so it's a great pleasure to bring up Secretary Grumbles.
Thank you. This is the first time in recorded history that Senator Van Hollen's remarks were followed by grumbles. I know I speak for Governor Hogan and the entire awesome Maryland congressional delegation in saying to you, Mr. Administrator, the sun will always be shining when you visit Maryland. This is an important day. It's important, and the Hogan administration is proud of the progress, the environmental progress we're making, and the bipartisan partnerships we're building on infrastructure, health, and equity. And like every other speaker, we were blown away by the model for the nation of YHU and the leadership of Baltimore City and Department of Public Works. Water is life, sanitation is dignity, and access is justice. And so we all absolutely are committed to making real and lasting progress for environmental protection and environmental justice and environmental equity, including economic equity. So I come less to speak and more to hire. Maryland Department of the Environment is looking for graduates who aren't already claimed by the Department of Public Works. We know that the graying of the water sector workforce is a real challenge. And so when you have examples of apprenticeships learning new skills to serve the water sector, that's outstanding. And we're excited about the bright future for green jobs and a clean and healthy economy. And now it's my honor to bring up Yolanda Winkler, the Director of Communications, appropriately dressed in brilliant blue, who also just inspired all of us in introducing us to the YH2O partners. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Grumble. So in closing, I want to first thank our mayor, because, you know, the youth are very, very important to our mayor. You are important to him. And so everything in his administration that you see coming out of there is going to focus on you. I want to thank our Administrator Shorter, because he's carrying out the orders. So I want to say thank you. I want to also thank the leadership of the Department of Public Works, where I work. Acting Director Jason Mitchell, again, focusing on youth, focusing on customer service, focusing on community engagement, all wrapped up in one. I want to thank Deputy Director Matt Garbrock, who's here and emceed this press event. I want to thank Julie Day. I don't know where she is right now, but she's here, she's in the back. I want to also thank my communications team. Thank you, James. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And it is truly an honor to oversee this program. I have a 20-year-old who's in college. And when I come home talking about this program, she says, "Mom, you talk too much." That's a 20-year-old for you. So I just want to also thank President Biden. Yay for our president. He is a president that represents all of us. I also want to thank the elected officials that were here. I think I saw Senator Antonio Hayes, he was here. I saw Delegate Smith, Stephanie Smith, she's in the back. I saw Councilman Conway, he's in the back. So thank you for joining us. Thank you, YH2O Executive Board. And I want to also thank Administrator Regan, and I want to especially thank your staff. They have been awesome. We had a short window, but guess what? We made it happen, because your staff work with us and we work with them. So it's about partnership. So you hear me, YH2O? Alexander spoke about unity. It was clearly unity as we endeavored to ensure that this announcement goes off without a hitch.